Viriya.
Yeah,
And
hello.
we're going to
Hello.
have a great discussion today. So welcome. And let's start with telling a little bit more about yourself. What is your spiritual story, guys?
Yeah, she looked at me and said, go. So let me go first. My spiritual story, a little bit about myself. My name is Viriya, and I've been a Reiki master teacher for over 10 years. And what that means is I made a career out of using my gifts of diving into people's rivers of energy and doing energy work for many years and teaching people how to tap into their giftings of energy work. And so that was really great. And then I found my way into doing what I'm doing now, which is really self-transformation, spiritual growth through meditation, through connecting with myself so I can connect deeper with my partner, Metta. And we are now using our voices to teach people how to do that themselves too. So it's been a journey of probably about 3 or 4 years of working on myself for spiritual growth. After working on thousands and thousands of clients, I decided to look inward. So thanks for having me on here tonight.
Hi, everyone. My name's Metta, and I did not come from a very spiritual healing profession, but it was my life circumstances that pushed me towards spiritually exploring more. And I was in a very abusive relationship, which was the tipping point for me to start meditating more and embracing my spiritual side. And that is when I realized that the inner world is deeper than it looks on the surface. And with that, I started exploring more of my own psyche, generational trauma, our mindsets. I got into deep into astrology, along with my meditation practice. And it helped me heal from the abuse that I had experienced for sure, but it also gave me a perspective that there's there's a possibility to live a very spiritually aware life that fulfills us and makes us happy, and how to define that. And having done that work in the last 3 4 years helped me become that person myself. And when we met, it it showed me that spiritually awake relationship were really possible. And it was also possible to heal with your partner on a deep spiritual level when they hold space for us and we hold space for them.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing stories. Just wanted to follow up a little bit on, you said healing with voice, I think. Can you clarify what you mean by that?
Uh, is that question for me?
Yes,
Healing,
yes, yeah,
healing
yes.
with voice?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So you said,
so I'm
yeah.
I'm speaking up more. I'm using my voice now instead of like healing hands, right? So what I'm doing is I'm tapping into the things that I've worked on personally and the spiritual journey that I've been on, and using that to now speak up and hopefully find the ears of the people who need to hear that you can get out of misery and you can get out of these hard days if you can learn to go inward, and you can learn what it means to be masculine or feminine, or divine masculine or divine feminine, and how to connect with your partner, how to connect with people around you when you are fully aware of who you are. So that's what I mean by using my voice, you know.
So is there any particular technique with voice? Is it speaking up, for instance, in podcasts, in front of audiences, or is it, writing blogs, or is there anything in particular that helped you?
Yeah. I would say just stepping out and facing my fears of being so much in public to the point where now I am speaking in conferences. I am starting a podcast like yourself, and I am, making content on social media to try to get my voice into that gap that exists right now, helping divine masculines and helping relationships grow.
Wow, that is really fascinating. And follow up on Metta's presentation. So she said something really interesting, like spiritually awake relationship. I've never heard this terminology before, and it sounds really exciting. And can you just explain a little bit what you mean by that, so we know, what it means?
Sure. When I say spiritually awake relationship, I mean the relationship that are not based on just society's criteria or, family's expectations or just, checking a box in your life that I've done this. But they are from a place that aligns with us within ourselves. That is our values, how we want to be loved, what kind of partner we want, how they align with us in our spiritual growth in future, because the purpose of relationship in itself is to show us the parts of ourselves through a partner as a mirror that reflects back and helps us heal the part that need healing or face them together, and also do the same for our partners as well. And this only happens when we look at the relationship from a lens of awareness. That's where I say awakeness, because if we didn't, it would just fall in the same criteria of the same relationships over and over again. And we keep on projecting our insecurities or our fears onto the other person, and then that loop keeps going. So the spiritually awake relationship is foundationally a place where we break the loop of unhealthy patterns in our mind and heal from that ourselves and also our partner as well. So that's why I feel, in my own experience, the spiritually awake relationship are the most fulfilling relationships. However, if we are not prepared, they can also be the most painful relationships.
Wow. Sounds fascinating.
It is fascinating. I feel like we're in that every day together.
Yes.
Yeah, and you're a couple, right? So you are together, and so your spiritual journey is stronger in a way that you help each other.
Very much.
Yeah, so let's just dive deeper into different spiritual tools that you use within your journey. So do you use any tools such as astrology, numerology, or you said Reiki, for instance, energy, any other energy healings? What do you think are your favorite tools and why?
My answer is different now than it was like 6 months ago, and I think it's important that we are always open to what our intuition is bringing us to next, So I have a very good hold on what energy work was doing for me and what energy work, like, healing blockages in the body. When I say energy work, I mean like removing that crud that blocks the positive energy flow. I know what that was and how good that was for me, but I was at a point where I needed something different to get through trauma and to move past a state of being stuck for a couple of years. And to move through that pain and that trauma and heal, I found meditation through my partner, Metta, who already had it as such a life practice every day that when we started dating, I just naturally started meditating right next to her. She would sit, I would sit, and I couldn't stop. It changed every part of my life. So right now, the biggest tool I use to stay balanced and to not have anxiety or depression any longer, to not even need caffeine or allergy medication, is a daily sitting meditation practice of vipassana. And we've done a course together. I did a 10-day silent meditation retreat just in November, so a few months ago, and that completely changed my body type, my voice, my whole life. I haven't really touched alcohol much since. I mean, just everything has changed with the practice of meditation. And so I haven't been doing much of the other stuff really since. It's just been going inward and going deeper.
It's really amazing that you said you were talking before about blockages in terms of speaking up, in terms of presenting yourself, and then you're talking now about vipassana, where is a practice where you're supposed to be silent, so you're not supposed to talk. How do you think these two things are, interrelated in your life? So does vipassana, being silent, help you to actually become more open to the audience when you speak up?
For me, yes. Oh, yes. When I went inside of my inner world for 10 days and did not speak, I didn't make eye contact, I didn't have physical touch. I lived like a monk, essentially. And when I came out, the space that's created from all of that inner work, you're working through your deepest pains. And it feels like they're releasing as you go that deep. There's nothing to get in the way of your work because it's just you and silence in your head. And your breath, you're constantly going back to your breath, and your breath clears you. And when I was done with that, I had more space in my chest and in my throat than I'd ever had in my entire life. Everyone said my voice was deeper. And I think
it's very ironic.
Yeah. I was like, I don't even recognize my own voice anymore, but I want to use it now. So yeah, it definitely cleared me to be unafraid to share. Yeah, how about you, Metta?
I agree with the point that, yes, being silent opened up his voice big time.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, so meditation was my basic tool of healing for many years. And I didn't really give it much attention because of the way I received meditation. And I thought everybody meditated. I thought everybody knew a grounding practice when they were anxious, when they were scared. I thought this was like a worldwide practice that everybody was aware of. And my bubble actually burst that not everyone's aware was like 2 years ago, when I found out that just because I have been practicing ever since I was a child, probably like 4 or 5 years old, not everybody does. And for me, that was new. And then when I was in the abusive relationship, I would always question my partner at the time that you say you're religious, but then where's your practice? Why is it not showing up in your lifestyle, in the decisions, in the way you treat people, and the way you live life? And for me, my meditation was showing up the whole time. I was very balanced. I was always balanced, even through recovering from abuse. And even when I was being abused, the only thing that would come through my heart was just a prayer and a kindness meditation for him. Like, I know you're doing bad. I hope one day you see this. But at this point, I just feel sorry for you. And that's what I still do. And for me, I thought everybody had, but no, not many people did, which I realized later. And as I was recovering from my abuse, I found out the tool of astrology, because I just couldn't fathom what was the reason behind it? Why is this all happening? Like, why has it been so painful for the first 30 years of life? Like, what is the reason? I've never killed anybody. I've never made a mistake. I've never committed a crime. But why I have found myself in these situations repeatedly? And then I found answers through astrology, big time. And some answers were so deep, they were generations deep. And I realized that I'm the only woman in last 3-4 generations in family who's very highly educated and who's independent and also breaking so many stereotypes culturally that I have a partner who's not from the same culture. And so I was able to read all that astrologically in there. And I also realized for me to live the best life, I will need to have a spiritually aware partner. Otherwise, it's not going to be a fulfilling relationship for me or whoever my partner is at the time. And as we are starting to deepen our relationship, we found more practices such as relationship practices where we sit and journal. So it's a relationship journaling. I found hypnosis. I realized I was able to go deep and facilitate hypnosis for a lot of my clients. And we've done many sessions with that. And the big and foremost was tantra for both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was very shocking, but also very beautiful shock.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much some practices of Tantra without even really discussing it as let's do Tantra together. It was, we are doing Tantra together. Where will this take us? So.
Yeah.
Wow, it's fascinating that you are aware and you use so many spiritual tools and in your daily lives. So I'm so honored to have you as my guest today. It's just such an interesting discussion, and I just want to go a little bit deeper in my personal area of interest because my podcast is called Discover Your Divine Talents. So I am so interested in how we can discover our divine talents, who we really are, because the problem for many people these days is that we are constantly being depreciated. Everyone tells us you're not good enough, you just something is wrong with you, and we live with this guilt and shame for a very long time. So do you have any suggestions for our audience in this respect?
Very good question.
Yeah. It's fascinating you say it like that, because I think that's really how marketing is working on the world. Is, we're giving you an image, a dream of you could be better, with this product, with this certification course, with this thing. You're going to take this, you're going to be so much better because you're not good enough yet, and so pay us monthly or buy this thing and you're going to be so good, and we'll teach you, we'll teach you how to be so good. But what we've been saying all along is that you have to go inward and discover who you are first before you look outward. So that would be our advice. My advice is, when I found energy healing as something that was just a natural thing for me, I'd already been trained just because I was kind of interested. But when it started happening for me, I had to just stay inward and figure out, where's this gift coming from? How do I use it to be catered to me, right? Because I'm the channel for it. And each person who has a divine gift, it's completely different for everybody. So you need to look inward and realize too that it's going to look different for you than it will be for your guru or your master or the person selling you a class or the person on YouTube saying that there's one way to do it. I think everyone's divine gift looks a little different.
For me, I would say that going inward deeply, the way Viriya has mentioned. And in addition, as we are going inwards, we need to get out of the story or the script that's playing in the head. You're not good enough. You need to do more. You need to do better. you won't get this, it won't work out.
Or you need to like get to that divine gift right away.
Yeah,
you know?
even the craving of getting there.
The craving.
No, get out of the story. Whatever you need, you have in this moment. And when we start living from that perspective, everything works out. And that's what is also taught quite a bit in detail in the book called The Power of Now.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know the book existed. I learned it through my meditation practice. So when one of my clients mentioned like, oh, I've read this in book of the book called The Power of Now. Like, cool. You learned it through the book. I learned it through my experience. We got to the same point. I am very happy to hear that. And so the baseline is to get out of the story, the narrative that goes in the head, because that's what keeps repeating the experiences in our life. Because that's where we vibrate. When the script keeps repeating, the vibrations are the same. And that attracts the people, experiences, and things in our life that vibrate at the same frequency. So when we vibrate with the power of now, that whatever I need is here and now, and there's nothing else out there in the world that's going to come and fulfill me, you're all good. And when we live from that perspective, if somebody asks a question, somebody had asked me this question, that's why I remember it. They'd asked me, if you get $10 million today, would you still do what you're doing? I'm like, yeah, heck yeah, I would still do what I'm doing, because money doesn't control our actions. And if it did, then our actions are not aligned with who we truly are.
Oh, I like that.
Wow.
I like that.
Viriya, can I just also follow up a bit on your points?
Yeah.
In relation to being a healer, was there a point in your life or any event, for instance, that actually, where you felt that, okay, I'm on the right path and I'm a healer and that is who I am and that is who I want to be and I'm on correct path in my life? Was there any specific moment or any specific day for that?
Oh, wow. Specific moment. There were so many days. The answer to your question is yes. It was definitely something. I say was like past tense because, like I said, I've taken a break from it, as I've had to really find my own power in a different way, in a different place, due to just some traumatic events that happened, and it changed my life completely, and I've had to sort of rebuild. But while I was understanding what was possible through energy work, every day that I practiced, it was what I was meant to do. It was what I was born to do. There was no doubt in my mind. There was no doubt in the client's mind. And so there are 1,000 stories I could share of just the craziest stuff that people see or experience, or how they would move, or how, we'd see the same things. We'd so many things happened in that healing space, that I knew all along it was what I was meant to do. Now I look back on it and I see that I think we can be meant to do a lot of things, and now I'm exploring new paths. But yeah, that feeling is something we should hold on to when we find that thing, because and we just need to treat it with so much respect and thankfulness, like a gift that in the present moment, thank you for this gift, or else we can abuse it. So we never want to take our gifts for granted.
Great. My next question would be about your life purpose. So have you found your life purpose, and what was your journey towards life purpose?
I mean, I have a short answer for that. No, I've not found my life purpose. I'm looking. I think we're all looking. Do we ever stop looking? Hopefully. I would like to find the peace. I would like to find the peace in life where I feel completely balanced and present, where I don't need to look any longer. Maybe that is the purpose. But when I met Metta, it felt like everything slowed down, where I've only been thankful for every moment since we've met, and we've been on a very similar wavelength working on spiritual growth projects since we've gotten together. Volunteering for meditation centers, and there's a lot of things, spiritual retreats, and there's just a lot of things going on. So I guess I'm looking, but I've also found something amazing.
That is beautiful.
Yeah. It's an amazing story. What about you, Metta? What do you feel about your life purpose?
I found my life purpose when I was asking the question myself during my abuse. Is this what life is? Is this what it is? Like fighting 5 hours a day, every day for the rest of my life, being beaten once a week, twice a month or so, and just being broke all the time because I'm just a slave to my partner. Is this my purpose? It's like, no, it shouldn't be like that. And that got me to a point where after leaving my abusive partner, I just sat one day and I was very lost. As you can imagine, abuse makes it very difficult on the person to just focus and be healthy. So I sat and meditated, and I woke up next morning and I felt a sense of belonging that I had not felt before. And it came from a place that, cool, I have my education, I have my profession, I have done so many things in the world. If we look at it from a materialistic perspective, it's amazing. But what have I done for myself personally and spiritually, which is what's important for me. And in that moment, I realized, I think my life purpose is going to keep healing and keep healing to a point where I can see my own suffering and not suffer, but just be there. Because it's the suffering in the world that keeps us in this loop of, what we said earlier. I'm not good. I'm not enough. I need more. And all the kind of different tapes that goes in on mind.
I think that really is something that can help people find their divine gift. Is, as you said, change the tapes.
Yeah.
But when you change the tapes and you can be in the present, your personal power grows, like your confidence grows. You have so much more power that can build inside of you. Power meaning like this energy buildup that is going to go somewhere. And I think when you find that confidence and you can be in the present moment, that is totally going to open up the channels for whatever divine gifting can start flowing, right? Because you won't be lacking confidence and you won't be feeling this anxiety or suffering anymore. And you can just sit and be like, yeah, I can breathe fire. Yeah, I can read those thoughts. Oh yeah, it will come. I think it really will.
Yeah.
Yeah, and following up on Metta's, I think the idea around your life purpose not being always, not being always materialistic, not always being in relation to your material energies, but it could be in relation to your spiritual evolution. It could be in relation to your spiritual gifts, but also spiritual tasks and challenges. For instance, to heal yourself, the challenge to become a new version of yourself. And we constantly forget that the world is not only material. And when we talk about life purpose, many people think about gaining more money, becoming rich and famous and recognized in our jobs. And I think your message is so powerful that healing could be also a part of our life purpose. It's just, I feel it is really powerful message for our viewers, for our audience, for me as well. It's so transformative, and thanks for sharing this. And in terms of this, so have you experienced any transformations on your spiritual journey, and how did you change along this path?
This is the sound of us thinking at that really deep question. I experienced my most significant transformation of who I am, I would say, less than a year ago. I was into my meditation practice. I was trying to figure out, I was in a state of life where I was like, what is next? You know, I was job searching, which leaves you sort of stranded at times mentally, brought down. And I had, it was really a sexual experience. If I can go into that topic on this podcast.
Yeah, sure.
But I mean, during a time of connection with Metta, there was a moment where I felt completely taken over by this awakening moment of feeling like a divine thing. I was not myself. I was only just like here to be a better leader and to serve my partner. And I had so much love, like all of my chakras opened. I felt completely like I had purpose. All purpose was to be a fully awakened man. And that was during a very intimate moment in sex. And I remember sitting on the edge of the bed afterwards going, I am not going to be different. Or, I mean, I'll never be the same again. This is a defining moment. And Matt is like, I think you've had an awakening. And I'm like, let's talk more about that. Because I mean, I see everything so differently now. And I see that there's a whole new way to approach relationships, to approach myself, to live in just a place of honesty and complete vulnerability. I've been crying so much ever since just this, I don't even know how to explain it, but it was like this, the sexiest Viking on the Viking shows just like took over my body. It's like, yes, I will be your vulnerable partner. I will cry and we will have amazing sex. And tapping into both of those, it's gotten kind of kinky, but I mean, it's a real thing that I want to help people learn to be vulnerable with their partner, because it's not happening enough. You know, we don't know that we should hug more and cry more, and it's not all about just intercourse, you know? Mm-hmm. So that was a huge transformation for me, like less than a year ago, of this jumping into this world of being a divine masculine, you know, and what that means for your partner.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I think you mentioned before about divine masculine and divine feminine. Yeah. And these concepts are so much misunderstood in the contemporary world. So can you talk a little bit more about your understanding of divine feminine and divine masculine?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. And I know Metta has a lot to share on that.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, we'll share content and we'll get comments back like, oh, what is this, medieval times? Why is the man like humbling himself to his female, like, no, shouldn't we just, use women for sexual gain? And the comments can be pretty terrible, based on what culture is today. Yeah, do you want to talk about divine feminine? Because we can go there now.
Okay. Okay.
How to use these divine masculine, divine feminine
Yeah.
in a relationship.
Yeah. I really want to. I think from the concept of divine feminine, it just comes from a place of where women are in non-gender binary orientation of a person, whatever they identify as, if they're feminine. So fully embracing the femininity. And that comes with a lot of work, deep healing work. Because with the society and the culture, a lot of women are so ingrained with constantly having to prove their worth, constantly. And that is not healthy. It's not a healthy feminine place. And that limits a woman's ability to connect with herself because she's busy just giving constantly. And I used to be in that boat, and it was horrible. And one more thing that I found very helpful when it comes to the understanding the divine feminine is to slow down. Slow down. If you think you're slow, go 100 times slower, because that is what feminine is. And an example of it is it takes 9 months to create a child. It's not an instant process, you know? And that's the power of femininity, because it's a process. It's a feminine process. It's slower. So if in the nature itself, the way we are created is slow, then why are we running? Why don't we slow down, just take a moment, take a breath, look around, look at ourselves and ask ourselves, where am I going? What do I want? Why am I going so fast? And that is also when, for the feminine, a lot of the gifts come up. Their spiritual gifts, their divine gifts, because again, her mind or their mind, all the layers of conditioning from childhood, or maybe from past lives as well, if viewers believe in that, as it slowly goes away, the divine gifts start coming to light. And that's only possible when we truly know and understand ourselves. And being in that divine feminine energy helps in connecting with our partners on a level that is not possible, that is not humanly possible.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I've previously just believed it before our relationship.
Like you had an understanding of
I
it.
had an understanding
Yeah.
of it, and
Yeah.
I believed it. But since we
Experienced
it, I know from my own experience that it's true and it's possible.
Yeah, so you're slowing down, you're allowing yourself to be pretty much taken care of, right? And I'm having so much joy out of just serving and taking care of my divine feminine partner, to the point where a lot of my role is a grounding force. And so we'll check in all the time about, hey, do you need grounding? How are you? Even before this episode, we talked for a moment about getting out of our heads and into our hearts, and setting a grounding framework for when we start talking to you. And there's a lot of moments where, I'll just hold Metta and let her sniff my neck and calm her nervous system, and find that moment of balance.
Yeah, about that. So Virya mentioned sniffing neck. And that is also very divine masculine and feminine phenomenon. It's the natural pheromones. So when you are connected to your divine partner who really matches the vibration of where you are, you're not going to be able to resist their smell or their fragrance, whatever you want to call. And it's not in a...
It's like animal. It's primal.
It's primal.
Yeah.
It's not in a way that's disgusting, but it's in a way that I did not know that was possible.
I still remember the first time you sniffed my armpit. I was like, here, smell this, right? Smell my armpit. And you're just like, I mean, I don't even know if I can repeat it. It was just, she enjoyed it.
So do you guys believe that as we are reborn as souls, we are destined to meet our soul twins or our divine partners? Is there a destiny in this sense?
Good question.
Yeah, why don't you answer that one?
Yeah.
Were we destined to meet?
I believe that.
Yeah, I do too, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, the way we met is so funny, and
Yeah.
instantly we were
It was just like instantaneous.
together.
You just know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've been in a lot of relationships, and this one has been different from the beginning.
Yeah. A lot of different levels of unhealthy relationships. And so to follow up on your question, yes, I feel every human being is destined to meet their soul partner or divine partner, but they will have to do the work. The partner is not going to serve to them on a silver platter.
Yeah, you got to be ready.
You have to be ready, because if you're not energetically ready, your partner's going to be right in front of your face, but you can't see that because you just don't know who you're looking at or looking for.
Yeah,
amazing.
Metta talks a lot about needing to know what you want and what you need in your partner, even before you start looking.
For me, I want to share something. When I was spiritually healing from all the, trauma, abuse, and I was asking myself question, what is the purpose of all this pain that I'm experiencing? Because I lost my home, I lost all the money that I had. I didn't even know I had that much money. And when I counted how much I had lost, it was close to 700,000 US dollars. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And then I left at 11:30 at night with 5 clothes in my bag and nothing else. And that pain of being alone and not knowing what's next, I let it all come up and I was like, what was the point of all this? And I don't want to experience it thereafter. So what can I do? What can I do in this moment in my spiritual practice? So that way I am fully aware where all my relationships came from and that I don't repeat it again. So I made a list. I made 3 lists. One list was what values I want in my life, or what are my own values. Then second was what kind of relationship I want. And the third list was what qualities I want in my partner. And that's it. I wrote it down. I took like 3-4 months to make the list. And then I validated myself every day that I deserve my list. And I am working every day to fulfill every point on my list, because I can't expect my partner to be the person on my list if I'm not that in the first place. That's not fair. That's not an equal relationship. And I see today, looking back, this relationship is pretty much everything that I had written down.
What was that movie a long time ago where the kid creates like his dream woman on the computer, and then she jumps out of the computer and comes to life?
I have no idea.
No idea.
Like you just explained that like 1980s movie. Because I remember the computer was like one of those like little green font with the black things, like.
Uh-huh.
And he like created this dream woman, and then she jumps out of the computer.
Okay. Mine was written on the paper.
Yeah.
Did you create blocks for me?
No. I was dancing at a club, and you came up to me and introduced yourself.
Oh yeah, the Bollywood restaurant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing story. Yeah, it's great that you give our audience some advice in terms of how to discover your partner, because I know that in Australia there is an epidemic of loneliness. People are just looking for soulmates, for partners, and going on multiple dates, sometimes hundreds of dates. I know people, and they just can't meet the right partner, and that is tragic. Do you have
Yeah, it
any
makes me want to
more
say, like,
advice?
I think we need to love ourselves first. You know, if we can't find that, if we can't find somebody and we're feeling that longing, that like never ending longing,
Desperation.
that desperation. I mean, we see the desperation on social media.
Oh my God.
Like we'll go live and talk to people, and people will interview us, and there's so many questions about, oh, when am I going to meet someone, and how help me, what's the thing I'm missing? And it's like, I think you just need to really care for yourself, nurture yourself, and that person will come. When you find health and you find what's missing in your emotional world, in your mental world, um, and when you start being more complete, right? Like we talked about finding your confidence and sitting in your power, and then your gifts will come. I think it's like that with relationships, right? Like
You sit with yourself.
you sit with yourself, and that person might come that will be a partner in life, and you don't need that partner to be happy, but it's nice to have that partner around. That's my thought on it. I mean, I hate seeing the desperation on social media all over the place.
I feel very sad for women and
people profiting on that.
Yeah, that is the point where what I hate the most. And most people that profit on the desperation of the people who are trying to find their soulmates are the most needing help. Because the moment we start making healing a business, it doesn't stay healing. It becomes something else because it's coming from an ego. And it's good, manifesting money and wealth and abundance, it's a part of spiritual awakening, but not at the cost of somebody else's pain.
Wow, that is so powerful. I believe that, it was my next question actually about finding balance between material and spiritual aspects of life. And you actually just started talking about these topics.
Yeah.
And I find that a lot of spiritual seekers struggle with finding this balance. So they become too spiritual, and then their material life is a mess. So that happens to a lot of people. Sometimes they become too materialistic, and then they just forget about spiritual sides. So do you have any advice for people in this sense?
That's a good point. I mean,
That's a really good point.
Yeah. I mean, it happened to me a bit. My ego got built pretty high. I was pretty popular along the East Coast, and I was ready to go worldwide, and I was taught many lessons. My ego was taught many lessons that I couldn't avoid, and I'm learning those lessons daily now. And we've been talking a lot about, we put together a spiritual retreat, and we have been co-hosting, and also I've been helping manage a lot of Metta's amazing divine gifts of leading meditation, and trying to get hooked up with studios and get hooked up with build a local meditation community. And what we're finding is we're actually getting the most joy out of the free events, and we have some of the most devoted people for spiritual growth who are coming to the events that aren't in the bougie studios, that aren't in the high-end places. And we've been talking a lot about, should this even ever be a business, right?
Yeah. We did talk about it. Yeah.
What did you come up with? Did you get to any conclusion in your discussion?
Yeah. So the conclusion was, let's focus on building a community and sharing our gifts first.
Yeah, and not let it be such like beating your head against the wall to get people there or to buy a ticket.
Yeah.
It just keeping the focus on come and sit and meditate.
Yeah, that's it.
You know,
Basic.
let's help you get out of suffering.
Yes, that's the first step. And then from there, so a lot of times from my experience, some clients are very committed to their own healing, so they want direction, some guidance. So in those cases, sure, let's work together. And until then, I'm so happy. I feel the most fulfilled just sharing the gifts and our spiritual practice and lifestyle. And I feel it's also very validating for a lot of our attendees, where they see both of us together there, supporting each other. And it's not just that, again, coming from a old school relationship template.
Yeah.
So that true support and love for each other. And that also strengthens the participants' trust, just in general.
Mm,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
agree.
we see it played out with the meditation community that Metta invited me into a while back, which is the practice of vipassana meditation. And when you go and meditate at a vipassana meditation center around the world, you don't, there's no charge. It's just a matter of getting in before the class fills. And how do they make the place run? How do they, how do they pay for food while you're there? It's all just donations. They're not fundraising. They're not doing auctions. They're not charging. It's literally you come, you meditate, and if you feel led, you just donate before you go. And that keeps everyone focused on just being thankful for the gift they received of the art of meditating.
Yeah. I mean, peace is priceless. What price are we going to put on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sadly, there has to be some money so that way you can provide a building to sleep in and electricity, food,
Yeah.
gas, all kinds of things that are involved in running businesses and places and buildings. So yeah, there's definitely a balance, but I think you can't let the business take over, and then you lose respect for everyone involved.
Absolutely agree. So I'm quite aware of the time. So I'm so excited talking to you, but I think I would just go into my last question for today. And that question would be about your 3 most favorite spiritual book recommendations for our audience.
3 most favorite. If you have one, go for it. I'm definitely thinking about 3.
Yeah, I think the first one that I want to recommend is not the book, but the author himself, Diego Perez. He goes by Young Pueblo. And all of his books, they are amazing. And they have the depth and self-awareness and the actual grounding if somebody is really wanting to embark on a spiritual healing journey. And the second book that was very helpful to me, I just have two books. The second book that was very helpful to me, especially in terms of relationship and dating, was by Charlotte Castle, and the book name is If Buddha Dated. And reading her book helped me define my values, my relationship, and the kind of partner I want. And I recommend everyone, literally everyone who wants to date spiritually, to read that book. Make notes. Literally, as you're reading, make notes. What thoughts come in your mind? Make notes of what you want in your life, in your relationship, and your partner. And believe me, you will receive that.
Hmm. Yeah, I would second the authorship of Young Pueblo.
Mm-hmm.
The Way Forward is a very eye-opening, perspective-changing book on how you view relationships, how you view yourself, the ability to slow down and look inside. Very much like a spiritual growth author. One that helped me through a lot of high school and college, way back when. I grew up in a very Christian setting, and Practicing His Presence is a book. It's a very short read, but it's very powerful, just about a monk who tries to pray every second of his life while he's doing everything. Very much like a mindfulness book. Practicing His Presence changed the way I viewed my religious practice. And then I would say another one, my third one, I guess, would be, and it brought me from seminary, a Master's of Divinity, to massage and Reiki school, is The Works by Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who's known now in the movies as like the theologian who tried to kill Hitler, something like that. But his works of community and prayer called me out of the church, actually, and into more of the spiritual healing practices of now.
Oh, great recommendations. Amazing books. I haven't read these books, so I think I would put them on my list of spiritual literature, even though I read so many spiritual books, but just so many books out there and different angles, different perspectives. Yeah, thank
What
you.
recommendations do you have from your list of readings?
I had the same question.
You had that, okay.
Okay, so for me, yeah, so hard to say because I've read so much, but I believe one of the greatest influences I had from spiritual literature was books by Carlos Castaneda. So about Don Juan and his stories of shamanism in Mexican traditions.
Oh, wow.
So that I would say the whole series is quite interesting. Most people read just one book, but it's really about personal transformation and how traditional people in Mexico, how they survived spiritually during years of occupation and their spiritual practices that they followed. So that would be really big recommendation. Other books are books by Iyengar, yoga teacher. So because I'm following yoga tradition, so definitely yoga teachers, they have great recommendations to share. So I read most of Iyengar books about yoga philosophy and yoga practice, and I strongly recommend everyone to read his personal transformation journey. It's definitely such an enormous transformation, a story of healing, physical healing from being weak and unhealthy as a kid, having multiple illnesses, to becoming such a strong and healthy yoga teacher and teaching all his life, basically, even in the very old age. Just really inspiring for everyone. So these are just some of the books that really inspired me so much.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We finally hear about you.
Yeah, it's yeah, I'm just starting this podcast, this channel, and therefore, yeah, I would like to post more about myself and my journey out there. So uh, I can say a bit more about myself. I'm also a spiritual writer. That's why I'm interested in spiritual literature. So trying to get my books out there. So still not out there, but almost there. So it's a long journey to get your book out into the world. And it's also very scary, as Viriya mentioned before. It's very scary to get yourself out there into the world and share your stories. So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting journey, and I'm already so fascinating. I have quite a few interviews this week with amazing people, and thanks for agreeing to meet me and share your story on my podcast. That is something that I personally learn a lot from, and I think the audience would also benefit so much from your story. It's such a powerful story of connection, of finding your life partner, your love of your life, and stories of transformation and healing. And it's really empowering. Thank you so much for your
Thank you.
support of my podcast.
Yeah, we enjoyed all of it. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.